All right, great. So good afternoon and good evening to some attendees, because this is being broadcast. It's being streamed online. So I know that there are others who are in different time zones all over the world, and therefore they are spending their evening in taking part. So welcome to this workshop on financial assessment of P3 projects in transport infrastructure. This workshop will be given by Dr. Cesar Queiroz. The workshop focuses on the review and applications of the graphical financial model of the World Bank's PPIAF model, the toolkit for P3s in roads and highways. The workshop will introduce more recent multi-sector adaptations of the model, which have been used for preliminary financial evaluations when project detailed data and financial arrangements are not yet fully defined. I expect that this workshop is gonna broaden our understanding of the key principles of P3s to deliver essential transportation infrastructure. So with that, I will hand over to Deepak, to Miles. Miles is the president of the Purdue chapter of the ASCE, and he will give his remarks. Welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Labi. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are. I'm Miles Overall. I'm a PhD student here at Purdue. Work under Dr. Darcy Bullock. I also right now serve as the president of the ASCE T&DI Purdue student chapter. Also, along with Deepak as the vice president and Dr. Labi as our advisor. Just want to give a quick understanding of what T&DI is, and more specifically at Purdue. We are one of only 3 student chapters that is part of ASCE T&DI. If you guys know what ASCE is, it's broken down geographically and by discipline in their institutes. Institute we're a part of is T&DI, which stands for Transportation and Development Institute. There's plenty, in hundreds, if not several hundred, student chapters of ASCE. The T&DI student chapters are graduate student focused, so that's kind of where we come into play. What we do is broad transportation themed workshops. So like this, while it is transportation themed, it is not solely only for transportation. We'll bring in some guest speakers as well and connecting with the wider ASCE T&DI network. Don't want to take up too much time, but just want to thank everybody for being here. It's here in person, here online. Also want to thank Purdue ITE for helping with this event, as well as Purdue SegSec and the Build America Center as well. So thank you, and I think, Deepak, are you ready to keep going?
Thank you, Miles. And first of all, along with ASCE T&DI, we have a unit of Build America Center at Purdue. So I'll just give a brief introduction about Build America Center and what this organization is doing. So Build America Center, established under the FSWA and USDOT, is a collaboration between 5 universities and many regional partners, headed by the University of Maryland in Maryland. And Purdue is a Midwest partner for Build America Centers, Stanford University, Georgia Tech, and Virginia Tech, and also supported by the Rebel Group in consulting, and also supported by other organizations across the US. So the primary objective is to impart education and training towards innovative financing, work on research projects related to innovative financing, promoting alternate delivery methods in infrastructure, looking at partnership, technical assistance to state DOTs to gain federal grants and similar activities. It was established in 2022. And since then, we have been working on multiple projects. A few of the key activities launched was something called IAJ Launchpad, grants plus AI tool, and we have helped in getting more than 50 grant applications for local and state DOTs, and was able to secure more than $175 million worth of federal grants to these agencies. One of the key activities is known as, it started as Build Launchpad, but currently has been rebranded as IAJ Launchpad. And this has a coverage of recent awards and federal grants across the US, looking into 1,000 plus awards, 4,000 plus localities, and key application documents that were successful in getting the federal grant awards. And the website is balaunchpad.com. Another tool which got recently released is something called grantsplus.ai. So it is an LLM-based tool which agencies can use on how easily you can avail the federal grants and looking at local matches, funding sources, innovative finance, and accelerated delivery. We do conduct lots of capacity building workshops to agencies, to student community, to industry professionals in terms of workshops, symposiums, seminars, webinars. In last year, in 2024-25, we had around 25 plus events happening across in the US in multiple modes, and 1,000 plus attendees were part of these activities. We have a YouTube channel. BSA holds a YouTube channel. You can search for Purdue America Center YouTube channel. And it has 60 plus short videos on what are the grant application procedures, how to work with FSWA, looking at the state infrastructure bank, regional infrastructure accelerators, and other topics. These are the research projects which each university has been doing as part of this, this initiative. Every year, each university is being awarded with a particular research project, and so far, around 15 reports have been published. We also have a universities-led modernizing infrastructure coalition called MIC, and we help local agencies across the US. And for every local agency we support, we have a collaboration with the local university. Let's say, for an example, we were supporting City Center to gain some federal grants, and this was supported by Purdue. Similarly, many organizations are supporting this venture from the America Center. 2024 work plan, we have got this recently approved, and multiple projects have been taken care of in this, including alternative revenue sources for local transportation projects, leveraging P3s, innovative financing resources, and enhancing FSWA innovative financing tools. We have a strong partnership with multiple organizations, primarily supported by FSWA and the Purdue America Bureau. 5 universities and supported by Rebel and multiple organizations across the US. And our website is bac.umd.edu. And our center director, Chinbin Chui, he could not make it today. And he can be reached at cui@umd.edu or bac@umd.edu. One final update, BSc has recently published a value for money analysis principles and standards, because it was part of IIJ principles that each project should be taking care or undergoing and value for money analysis. And BSc has released a report and checklist for how to conduct value for money analysis. That's about BSc. So now I invite Professor Sinha to give a brief keynote.
You know, it says keynote address. It's not a keynote address. It's just an introduction. And those of you who do not know me, I've been Purdue for many years, 51 years. Sure. And we have visited many of these things that we are talking about for years and years. We work with Indiana Department of Transportation mainly to the Joint Transportation Research Program. And we, as a matter of fact, I take credit for the highway charges we have in Indiana. That was set up by us through, people often wonder, financing, what engineers have to do. There's a lot of engineering in it. We'll have to figure out exactly how much to charge whom. Truckers versus automobiles. There comes engineering. How much the damage functions, how much damage they're creating, the different vehicles, and to fix the damage, the maintenance and rehab, how much it costs, you have to allocate them. So there's a lot of art in it, also science. Now, financing in Indiana has been for generations, pay as you go. Money comes, when we have enough money, we build. But few years ago, we started to borrow some money, bonding programs. And then recently we have started PPP project, where you get the private sector take some risk with the public sector. So the very first one, existing facility, Indiana Toll Road, that we gave it to the private sector to fix it, run it, operate, collect revenue from toll. And that's the first time any state or state road or state highway has ever been leased for a long term. It was for 75 years. The first time in this country. Then Indiana have new facilities, the Indiana, Kentucky and Indiana, the bridge, Ohio River Bridge, that's a PPP project. And also recently I-69 final section is a PPP project. So PPP projects are becoming, well, I won't say popular, being used in this country, but in developing world, it has been used for decades. Malaysia, China, all the toll roads, the PPP concessions. So I'm very happy to see that Build Indiana Center, now IT chapter, and in the T&DI chapter, they have started this kind of program, and we are bringing the engineers, the people who are interested in financing to discuss this kind of things, that financing in general and PPP in particular, and to do that kind of workshop, you have a person who is the guru in the world, Dr. Cesar Queiroz. I have known him for many, many years, since early 1980s. We did things, many things together. So I'm very happy that he has come, and he's a civil engineer, by the way. So I'm very pleased he is here, and I thank you, Cesar. You have taken trouble to come and visit us and impart your experience. We'll learn a lot of lessons from him. Okay, Cesar.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor Senha. So I'm going to expand on what you just said about Cesar. So the audience knows that he's a heavyweight, and that would be an appreciation of the fact that he's here with us this afternoon. So Cesar is a former World Bank highways advisor. He has also worked as a consultant on roads and transport infrastructure with several international development organizations. His main expertise is in P3 performance-based contracts, they call them PBCs, road maintenance, financing, management and development, and good governance. Cesar has made contributions in these areas through consulting, research, education and training, and advisor roles to governments all over the world. He earned his PhD in civil engineering from UT Austin, MSc in production engineering from the Federal University of Rio de Janeiro, and his bachelor's was in civil engineering from the Federal University of Juiz de Fora in Brazil. He has published 2 books and over 150 papers and articles, and his professional experience spans at least 60 nations. He's a member of ASCE T&DI and TRB. He currently serves as an advisor to the board of directors of the IRF. The IRF means the International Road Federation in Geneva. He's also a senior fellow with the Center for Infrastructure P3 Policy at the George Mason University, Washington, D.C. Cesar, thank you for honoring our invitation.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Working. Good, that's working. Yeah. Okay. Good. Okay. Thanks. Thanks very much. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you. Long time friends and Kumaris and Sam Labi. We've been friends for quite a few years. Not as many as I think Professor Kumaris Sinha. We first met in 1984. Not here, not in Brazil, in Paris, France. And it was a very good memoirs of an international conference that we participated together in Paris at that time. And we've been interacting from time to time all over this time. So it's always heard good, very good things about Purdue University. Very good. I did my PhD in Texas at the UT, Austin, and we always had, we had, you remember Virgil Anderson, the statistics. He was always mentioned in Texas because of his pioneer statistical works that he did at the Asher Road test and others. So I've been having Purdue in my radar for many, many years. But thanks now to this kind of invitation by Professor Labi and Deepak, we've been working together. I've been helping a little bit. Deepak also in his PhD effort. And so thanks to the kind of invitation, I finally am here in presence, because many times today, particularly during the pandemic, we're doing everything remotely. I taught so many courses. I've been teaching for years at the International Law Institute in Washington, D.C. And we did for almost 2 years during the pandemic, we did everything remotely. And that's excellent. It's much, much, much better than nothing. But it's much, much better if you can make it in person. But I know that we are not the majority here today because we have many, many, many colleagues participating online that are here with us. And that's excellent, because if you cannot make it, do it. And it's very helpful. And thanks to it, we survived the pandemic, right? And doing a lot of remote things. So I don't think I know how to go to next one. Oh, this one. Okay. Thank you. Yes. So these are some of the things I'd like to talk about, but Professor Kumar Sinha already mentioned some of the concept of public-private finance, public-private partnership, and we'll be taking that, a bit about risks, about the World Bank Toolkit for PPP or P3 in roads and highways. But before we define PPP relates a lot to infrastructure. So maybe you can just start defining infrastructure. So I brought, it's my personal selection. I like all of them, and there are many definitions. So I think these are 3 good ones. Okay, that maybe, let's choose one of them. Maybe the first. Robert Herman was my professor at UT Austin, and he wrote a book with his colleague Osobel on urban transportation, or basically urban infrastructure. And he came up with this nice, and I like it because it's the shortest definition. So what's infrastructure? The built environment in which we live. Certainly there's much more than that, but in simple words, in short ones, that's, I think, a good way to express the meaning of infrastructure. ASCE has a good one, and also even Merriam-Webster, even, no, we should not say that, It has very good definitions, and this is one of them. And how about financing through public and private? I think originally, and not too many years ago, we had the Soviet Union, the former Soviet Union, 100% of their infrastructure was public, 100% public financed without involving the private sector, not even as contractors, because the contractors were also public. So all the contracts, instead of competitive bidding, were awarded through negotiations. And the idea was to give a piece of the cake to everybody, spread the money, and try to do the work that way. And after so many years, it was found out that it does not work that way. It does not work. There are many issues. And we all know that end of 1991 was the fall of the Soviet Union. And then one of the World Bank at that time invited a few people to constitute a new department working with the 15 republics of the former Soviet Union. I had studied a little bit of Russian in Brazil when I was still in high school. And perhaps that was one of the criteria used. And I was one of the guys selected. And I worked full-time on Russia from 1992 to 1997. And it was a very challenging, but very rewarding also, because we could accomplish big things. And not according to me, but according to my supervisor at the time at the World Bank, one of the major accomplishments was to introduce competitive bidding in the Soviet Union, in the former Soviet Union. And we did, in one way or the other, now all the 15 republics that were comprised the Soviet Union, they have public procurement through competitive bidding today. So many governments have recognized that more in their infrastructure is needed. And to achieve that, public budgets, the Treasury, Ministry of Finance, has been showing that it's not enough. They don't have enough money, and they need more involvement of the private sector, not only to do the work, but also to finance. And that is basically what motivated countries to have more P3 or PPP, public-private partnership. So if well managed, a lot of things there. These two words here, if well managed. Public finance is a means to improve infrastructure, not to overburden the public budget, avoid excessive deficit by the public sector, by the governments, execute projects on time and on budget, and to facilitate that, because in many ways that public P3 contracts have been structured, they require that, in a way that the private sector has to do their job before they start receiving money. And if they don't receive money, that's what weighs a lot in their pockets. And so they'll do everything they can to do it on time and on budget, to be rewarded, compensate financially later. And bring expertise, efficiency, innovation that the private sector, being more flexible, in general, being more flexible than the public sector, can bring that more quickly to the table. So private financing helps mitigate some issues in infrastructure development. I'm not saying that so the language there help mitigate is chosen very carefully. Nobody's here saying that, okay, let's do P3, PPP. P3, that's what people say in the US and Canada. PPP, what they say in the rest of the world, public-private partnership. Okay, there are a few exceptions, a few countries in the Caribbean and Central America would say P3, but few. So, there are some exceptions, but mostly the rest of the world will abbreviate as PPP, but what matters is public-private partnership. Okay, so corruption tends to decrease, eliminate. Don't ask me. We have big examples. Probably better not cite here now, but we have big examples of huge corruption with P3. But it has the mechanism. So if well implemented, it brings the mechanism, the tools that you need to mitigate or reduce, hopefully eliminate corruption. Public waste avoids white elephants. Public debt could have served, could have a severe fiscal impact. So a government, if the government runs a high public deficit, if they spend more than it receives, more than its revenues, it may be in trouble. There's a limit. No country, it's kind of leverage. You wanted to borrow. When I moved to the US to join the World Bank in 1986, the first thing I did was to borrow money to buy a house. Everybody does that. So it's a leverage. Now you borrow, but there's a limit to it. You have to borrow, each country should borrow within the limitations that of their budget. So they can repay and keep investors' confidence. If a country starts borrowing too much, runs huge fiscal deficits, and the private sector will lose confidence. And then they can even come to your country, in that case, and offer, prepare a bid, an offer, a proposal for a PPP project, but they probably will require a lot of revenues in exchange for it. That's the risk. The higher the risk, the higher the price. If you are asked to go to a very risky place, you may go, but you ought to receive more. We have good consultants in some risky areas, but they go for a high price. And so the private sector, same. Nothing new about private finance. Some examples: toll road at Wade's Mill, Hertfordshire, UK, established in 1663 by Act of Parliament. Was a PPP, or P3, form of. 19th century concessions, toll roads, bridges, tunnels in the US in the 1800s, railways in France, subway in London. The Suez and Panama canals are also cited as some form of PPP. A decline around 1930. With the Great Depression, the private sector would not put their money. Too risky. And for decades, no PPPs, until no resurgence in several countries. But the main program that really brought back PPP was in the UK, that many other countries, including Brazil, did their first PPP law based on the material developed at the UK at that time. So mainly through the PFI. What's PFI? Private Finance Initiative, launched by Margaret Thatcher, also Prime Minister, in 1992, I think. Yeah, and then it was reformulated as a PF2, Private Finance second version, PF2. And new arrangements were put in place in 2018. And in fact, the most up-to-date material, I put here a link to it if you want to know more about that. because it's still under transformation, being evolved. Some examples. In 1898, Paris city government appointed a Belgian contractor entrepreneur, Edouard Ampin, as concessionaire for the metro of Paris. There's a very good description. I have not seen any translation, but in French, there's a very good description by Xavier Besançon, 2,000 years of PPP history. 2,000 years. So if you want to know more about, suggest that you have a look there. Here in the US, look at this toll road. 1830 toll road. This table here is the toll rates. Like a horse-drawn carriage like that is so much, and others. No, that's the schedule of toll rates. First road totally automated. Toll collection fully automated. First in the world. Years ago, I was asked to help devise the Norwegian Public Road Administration to launch a huge PPP program on their west coast. If you remember the map of Norway, the west coast, this side, is famous for their fjords, no, the entrance, no, the sea, the North Sea goes into the continent. And so what happens if you want to build a north-south road? Norway wanted to connect through PPP, north-south on the west coast. So you have to cross those fjords. It was a huge challenge. And they asked me to help structure as a PPP. We worked in it, very interesting. And I was discussing with them, and they asked me to give a workshop at Trondheim. There where they have the Technical University, and a little bit south of the circle, the polar circle. And I showed a slide like this. And oh, no, wait a second. We have the ring, the toll rings around cities like Oslo, Stavanger, Trondheim, 5 or 6 cities in Norway, they have a toll ring. And those toll rings is 100% automated also. Toll collections are fully electronic. And I think we did before. So for a few months, I think I prevailed with my statistics and was in fact the state route 91 in California was still the first. So I think a difference of months, because Norway also was the second pioneer in this area. So first fully automated toll road, I keep saying that, free-flow system, you don't stop and you don't reduce speed to pay toll. So that was opened in, when was it open? State Road, Orange County, 16 kilometers, December 27, 1995, fully automated. It was a very successful project. Has been in different ways. Yeah. So here, before you get, it was the first what is called the express lanes. Now you have express lanes in the Washington area, around the city, around the, in the beltway of Washington has express lanes. You travel interstates all over the US now, perhaps not in every state, but quite widespread. You have the express toll lanes, the lanes that are built in the median. When the median is wide enough, you can build the express lanes and charge tolls and let the market work. Those who want to pay can take the express lanes, like here. So if you want to play, you read this sign, and it's saying that in half a mile, you're going to have to pay. So you have a choice. So if you want to pay, you take the central lanes that were built in the original median, and you pay, and you get home early, so you can have your kids or meet your girlfriend or boyfriend or husband or wife. If you don't want to pay, it's going to take longer. Like if like here, you have to pay $1. Oh, I had an old camera that time, and I still have the date. So December 1997. And so that time it was $1.10. Now it's probably 2 or 3. And not peak hour, you go there, so you can drive very comfortable in the express lanes because basically there's no traffic. So you are paying for almost nothing. It's a little later, rush hour. The price is higher. It's a dynamic pricing. The price now is higher, but still it's really worth it. Although many drivers believe that no pay. So if you choose to pay, you take the express lanes. If not, you have a huge congestion. So it's the market working. And the more recent, like this, typical in Florida. In Florida, I don't know here. You mentioned, Kumaris, you mentioned the Indiana toll road. So I don't know if you have, like in California, they're still giving the option. So if you don't have the transponder in your car, if you don't have, you can divert before you get to the toll collection point. You can divert and go to the traditional toll plazas. But in this, for example, in California, there's no toll plazas. This one, California, no toll plaza, no. It's really only the transponder that you have to have in your card, which they call fast track. And here, you still have the option. This is not far from the Orlando airport. Sam, going back to Ghana, you saw this before, and you have been there. I know. This was my first World Bank mission to Africa. I went to 3 countries, Mauritania, Senegal, and Ghana. My first mission was June 1986, the year I joined the World Bank. My first work travel to Africa. And in Africa, one of the challenges we had is that the north-south, as you know, the north-south road at that time was, now it's an expressway, a good part of it. But that time it was in these conditions with potholes. And I was asked by the World Bank, okay, go there, see what we can do, what we need to help improve the north-south connection. North of Ghana, you have Burkina Faso. And so it's to Accra, the capital city in the south. So to connect the capital city to Burkina Faso, you had this road. Some sections were better, some were worse. And when I got to this point here, I was driving in the car that time with a gentleman who later became, I think, CEO of Ghana Highway Authority, Joe Lumpty. Joe Lumpty. So we were traveling, and here at that time was the director of maintenance. When I saw this man, I didn't know what it was. I asked him, okay, Joe, let's stop here. Let's speak with him. Because the objective was for me to go all the way from Accra to Burkina Faso to check the road and come back to Accra and put the numbers, basically guess numbers because I could not do everything in a trip, but collect data. And so we would then do prepare a loan credit to Ghana to help rehabilitate, reconstruct that road. And the director of maintenance told me, Cesar, no, we are late. People are waiting us so many kilometers from here. We have to, because we had all the checkpoints, all the points we were meeting local authorities. So we cannot, Joe, please. And so he finally agreed. And he even worked as interpreter because he knew the local dialect, language they spoke. And so we discussed with this gentleman who told us, no, I get my money from the drivers who throw me some money. Some bus passengers throw me some money. And what I do, I put some sand, some dirt into the potholes. And they know that the road is in better condition. Even if that's a rudimentary form of patching potholes, but they still appreciate it. They'll not break an axle because they will avoid a pothole. So there is some benefit. A rudimentary yet strong case for toll collection. The users feeling the improvements in road condition they are having, they'll be willing to pay. And this is a total volunteer basis. Nobody had to pay him. But he told us he sent his kids to school and had his household and everything maintained with the money he made here. But I went back to Accra, in my report, and Mr. Queiroz was the CEO that time. He was not very happy. No, this guy, no. Of course, they didn't like him, but they didn't have resource to do everything. And so this public initiative. So this is a PPP. This is an example of P3, if you will. Okay, finally, we have a definition. We have a definition. We have a definition. So what's a P3? A long-term contract between private party and a government entity. For example, Department of Roads. Could be the Department of Roads, Highway Authority, for providing a public asset or service in which the private party bears significant risk in management responsibility, and remuneration is linked to performance. So if the road is in poor condition, the government may not pay. That should be built in the contract. So a good PPP contract will have a set of performance indicators that will have to be met by the private sector to get their money. Okay? The life of a PPP project typically has been more or less between 20 and 30 years. Could be longer. The principle is that should be long enough for the private sector to have the incentive to invest well, to do a high quality initial construction, because they'll be responsible for maintenance for many years. We have longer concessions. What's the longer concession we have? Any idea? Longest concession that we have today? 99 years. Not far from here. Chicago Skyway is a 99-year concession in Chicago. And Toronto, Canada. Toronto Motorway, 99-year concession. Australia, lots of airports, 99-year concessions. All the main airports in Australia are 99-year concessions. How about the Channel Tunnel between France and UK and England? 99-year concession. Types of PPP. we can say one classification would be say greenfield and brownfield. So it's a new road, a new project, a new railway. It's a greenfield. If it's an existing facility that you want to refurbish and then operate through the private sector, that's a brownfield. If it's a road, many concessions in Brazil, for example, all the initial concessions in Brazil, which were launched in 1995, the initial concessions, they were all brownfield. But in a PPP, it bundles together several phases of providing infrastructure. Yeah, not always you put all the initials. You don't have to. In the UK, for example, they just call DBFO. but a DBFO includes maintenance, for example. The private company that implements the project is called it's a special purpose vehicle. Several benefits. Okay. Two extremes here. Types of PPP projects. Extreme on the left side, all the remuneration to the private sector comes from the users. Users pay. How about the extreme right? In fact, the two on the extreme right. 100% of the remuneration comes from government. So we used here red representing money coming from the government, blue money coming from the users or the facility. Users of a road, the drivers, and they pay toll. That's the remuneration coming from the users. Okay? In between, you have several combinations, like a combination of user fees and availability payment. And also in red, let's call this thing here a light red, and this is a dark red. Okay, what's the difference between availability payment and construction subsidy? The construction subsidy is money the government gives to the private sector during construction. And availability payment is money the government gives to the private sector during the O&M. What's O&M? Operation and maintenance phase of the contract. So that's the difference between dark red. If I use the pointer, does it go to the? You think our remote participants would? Yeah. If I do this. No. Yes. No, don't. It's okay. It's okay. So I'll use the two. It's working. Yes. Okay. Thanks, Deepak. So again, to firm up the concept. So if I say availability payment means money that the government will provide to the private sector during operation and maintenance. And construction subsidy will be upfront, will be during construction or during rehabilitation of the project. And you have the several combinations, which I would say virtually All types of PPP are summarized here. Oh, in summary, we have the blue, users pay, and the red, government pays, usually through availability payments, which means periodic payments during the O&M phase of the project, provided the asset is available and meets performance standards, or key performance indicators, we call sometimes. And there's a third option, no? Both users and government pay, sometimes called a hybrid PPP. A little bit about risks. How many minutes do we have, Deepak? 10 minutes. Okay, we have to, let's cover risks, okay? So it depends on the form of PPP. So that graph has a lot of things behind it. Now the red, the dark red, light red, and blue. Because that defines the risk sharing. In most places, there are other risk sharing that perhaps not illustrated there, but most of it, in terms of money, it's summarized there. So depends on the form of PPP. Some key risks in the PPP project, land acquisition, by far is the main reason of delays in implementing a project. Not only PPP, even traditional projects. The main reason for delays are land acquisition, land availability for the works to go on. Demand is a risk to the private sector only if it's a user's pay. Because if the users are paying for the project, you need demand, you need the trucks and cars and buses using the road. And that's the demand for the road. So if you don't traffic, no demand, no payment by the user, you don't have users, or very few. Okay, so demand only if it's a form of users pay. If the user not paying, the government will pay. Normally, it's the payments are irrespective of demand. To traffic or no traffic on the road, the government will pay. So, for example, on a toll road, usually the private investor assumes demand risk. For availability payments, demand risks remain with the public sector. The Global Infrastructure Hub, PPIF, Private Participation in Infrastructure Advisory Facility, under the World Bank, risk allocation tool, is one of the best tools available that I know of that you could use if you want to study and if you want to design a new PPP project and structure it. You could use as a guide, as a support, as a tool. So a reference in deciding on appropriate risk allocation. And it's available free of charge here. A little bit more about risks. What I did here, we have probably some of you may remember, I think Sam probably remembers Ralph Haas, professor at Waterloo, University of Waterloo in Canada. He died a few years ago. At a TRB, cold, one of those cold TRBs, and Ralph liked beer a lot. So he and I were taking a beer at TRB, you know, those cold days, and he raised this idea. Oh, I always wanted to do a graph. Why don't you know, inspired by the beer, why don't you do a graph showing the split of risks, the risk sharing in a graph? So we got a little pen from the waiter and got some napkin and start drafting. And we had preliminary draft, but we came up with this graph, more or less. Okay, we've been modified and modified, but it's basically was our common sense later that look at this. This is a graph. Why do I have two lines here? Not one line. Should be one curve would be very neat, but we put two curves to show that this is fuzzy. We don't have a line. We have an area. No risk will be around this area. So that's the reason we use two curves. Okay, show that we don't know exactly where it is, but approximately. Say in the former Soviet Union, everything was force account, so the risks are high. 100, in the beginning, we put 100% here and 0% here. You know, when we show slides all over the place, people copy them. It's a nice. So sometimes now I go to conference and some people are showing, they don't know where it came from. Show this slide, and they still put 0% here and 100% here. So Ralph and I got to, Ralph Haas and I, we got rid of the 0% and 100% a long time ago. Because it's not 0% and 100%. Let's be honest. It's low here. Can you see it? Yeah, and high here. Okay, not 100% high, but maybe in the former Soviet Union it was 100%. Okay, all risks with the public sector. Okay, and then as you take different forms, the traditional outsourcing is the traditional contract with the private sector, but let's say using competitive bidding, but not a PPP. And the performance-based contracts, availability payment, shadow tolls, where the payment is based on vehicles, but still payment made by the government. And the toll road BOT, build, operate, transfer, or a BOO, build, own, and operate. The closest example we have around here of a BOO is in Washington, DC. In Washington, if you go to Washington, you probably took either the national airport or the international airport, Dulles, Dulles, Dulles International Airport, and from Dulles International Airport to Leesburg in Virginia, state of Virginia, there's a freeway, a toll road built by the private sector. The private sector got together, they got financing from banks, from lenders, and built the road and charged toll. Government paid zero. Government did not buy the land for them. They bought the land. So it's a kind of BOO, but the state of Virginia, even being 100% private, but they negotiate a period, number of years, which is, I think currently is 50 years. It was a little lower in the beginning, but traffic was lower than anticipated, and they extended to, I believe, 50 years. So it's a closest example that I know of build, own, operate. So still the government put a T at the end, transfer back to the state of Virginia after this agreed period, assuming that the private sector will fully amortize that investment to get all the profit they expected in that period. And I got to this to illustrate the share of risks. Sharing risks should be a win-win. Both the private sector and the public sector should be winners. Now, if the public sector is very happy if the whole is only on the private sector side, and the private sector is doing all they can to avoid bankruptcy, it's still, no, if the boat sinks, both will sink. So be careful when sharing this. We are all on the same boat. And we have time for a word about the toolkit. 2 minutes? Okay, 2 minutes about the toolkit for PPP in roads and highways. We developed this at the World Bank. We did the international selection of consultants to help, and hired Aegis, the French group, consultants. Very good. They did an excellent job in helping put together the toolkit. It's available in English and Russian, free of charge, this website. And instead of going through the details, maybe I'll just give an overview. Okay, so we have 6 modules. So the toolkit has 6 modules: introduction here, overview, diagnosis, why PPP. Then we have key components, including financial modeling of PPP, P3, and policy and planning in the highway sector, but also a lot of things we put in the toolkit. We got money to do for highways. So the title is for highways, but a lot of things here apply to other transportation sectors. Now, laws and contracts in module 4, and the implementation monitoring, the key steps to implement a PPP project, key 5 main steps to implement a PPP project, and tools. In that module 6, tools, is where we have financial modeling. So what we're going to speak about after the break is exactly know how to apply the financial models. We apply one of them. We develop 2 under the toolkit, available free of charge on this website, and we have we're going to see after the break also another model that we developed. A colleague at the University of Belgrade in Serbia, Goran Mladenovic, and I developed a model for availability payment. The toolkit does not have model for availability payment. That's only for toll roads. And we developed one for availability payment that applies to any sector. So we will give 2 examples, one for highways and the other for railways. Thank you very much for the first phase. Should we have a?
Yeah, please. I will share the link to download the files for all of you might have received the files earlier as well. So we'll be going directly into the workshop soon after the break, right at 3:45. So get your computers ready, try to download the files in the room and share the files if you don't have it already. Make sure that you can open the Excel files and it's working properly. And we'll resume at 3:45.
And you promised coffee.
Yes, we have some coffee.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Can we start? Yes. Okay, hello. Welcome back, everybody. Hope everybody can hear me. Okay. Yeah. Okay. We have to go back just a couple of slides in the previous presentation so we can go into the workshop. Okay. We missed 3 slides that I would like to show for the previous presentation, and then we'll skip to the workshop, the second slide projection. So one is key financial analysis outputs. There are several, but the key essential ones are only 2. So we're going to focus on 2 financial indicators of a project. If those 2 financial indicators are good, the project is financially viable. Okay. One is the return on equity, ROE, also called equity internal rate of return, IRR, equity internal rate of return. And the other one is the annual debt service coverage ratio. The first one, return on equity, is important because if you don't give an adequate return to the private sector, they will not bid for the project. They will not compete for the project. They will not be interested in making an offer to undertake the project. Okay, so that's the reason we need a good return on equity. How good, how high it has to be, depends on the country, depends on many circumstances. I'll give you some numbers so you have a feeling for it. Okay, so the return on equity is a measure of profitability. It indicates how many dollars of profit a company generates with each dollar they invest. For example, if you say return on equity is 12%, it means that each year they'll get 12% on their capital, the money they invest. Some countries, like in Scandinavia, maybe 5, 6, 7% is enough to attract private investors. In countries like Brazil, there have been some surveys. You need about 14, 16%. Some countries in Africa, Asia, could require about the same or even higher. Some other countries lower. It depends on the project. In the same region, in the same country, maybe a highway project. The perception of risks, if there's more experience, maybe the perception of risk is lower, and the private sector will come for a lower rate. But if the perception of risk is higher, they'll require more return. Okay, and I put some web links here, so if you want to go further. These are the equations to compute. Well, first, net present value. So the net present value is the sum of the present value of benefits minus the present value of costs. So mathematically, we could write NPV is benefits divided by 1 plus R. R is the discount rate. So if I divide by 1 plus R to the year 1, year 2, year 3, then I can have the present value. So that's a way of bringing the future cash flow of money to today's value. So I compute the present value by dividing by 1 plus R, 1 plus the discount rate to the year as exponent. If same thing for benefits, I'm sorry, for costs. So if I have benefits minus costs, I have a present value, I have NPV, net present value. And the other one is the internal rate of return, which is the discount rate at which the net present value is equal to 0. So if I equate this equation to 0, so instead of NPV, I put 0. So now NPV is equal to 0. Then I can replace R, the little r, I can replace with the internal rate of return, because the internal rate of return is the discount rate for which the net present value is 0. Okay, the computer will do those calculations for us. We don't have to worry about it, but I just wanted to show you. Okay, and the other key indicator, annual debt service coverage ratio. So the lenders to the project want to know if the private sector, the concessionaire, will have more money, will have money available, more than what they have to repay the debt. They want to make sure that the debt will be repaid. And what gives comfort to the lenders is the annual debt service coverage ratio. We can compute other indicators. This is the critical one. So they want to know if the concessionaire will be able to repay the debt. ADSCR is the division, is the ratio between the net operating income, NOI, divided by the debt service. The debt service is the sum of the capital repayment plus the interest rate and any other fees if there's any lending fee for each year. So ADSCR for year I divide the cash flow, the NOI, net operating income, by the debt service for year I. It's a measure of bankability. What's the meaning of bankability? It means that the lenders are willing to lend. So the project is bankable. So that's, I don't like to give this, but I was forced to, because each time I speak about this, people ask, oh, but I'll go home. I have no idea whatsoever what numbers you are talking about. So I was basically forced to give some examples, which is very dangerous for me, because tomorrow if you go to a legal place and say, oh, Cesar told me that the capes are this, then, oh, this guy is crazy. It's not here, does not apply here. Yes, of course not. It applies to different circumstances. You have a microphone with you? Can you read the note for me? Because the note is more important than the slides. Okay, but I just want to give you a range of numbers so you have something concrete.
It says actual values depend on many factors, including the perception of risks, example, host country political stability, nature of the project, and government support. For example, in developed countries, an ROE of 5 or 6% may be acceptable.
Yeah, well, we have some examples in Scandinavia with very low rates of return and successful projects. Okay, but here's the numbers for you to have a feeling. Okay, I think that's all. Can we go back this? Now we can start the workshop. Chun, chun, chun. Somebody should ring the bell. Okay. Right. Okay, thanks, Deepak. So that's numerical exercise to carry out the financial assessment of users' pay first. First, we're going to get a case of users' pay. So a blue, that graph, nice colors, the blue, okay? User pays, 100% users pay. And then we're going to talk about two availability payments. If we have time, we will cover one highway and one railway for availability payment, okay? So the first numerical example, assessing financial feasibility or viability of users' pay, highway P3 project. Objectives, we're going to see that in numerical example 2, financial feasibility of availability payment, highway, and of financial feasibility of availability payment, railway, the numerical 3, example number 3. Number 1, so let's compute the minimum toll rate that will be required for a highway P3 project to attract private investors. This practical session will provide participants with an opportunity to learn. We'll focus on a proposed toll road project. And following completion, we're all going to be PhD in financial analysis, more or less. Okay, we understand, hopefully we all will understand, have a common knowledge a little bit, but I'll give several references if you want to go deeper on this. So we'll be given basic data for a proposed P3 project, and we will be asking several questions. Please assume that previous studies, this is quite important here, because this is a phase, it's a key phase we are entering now of preparing a P3 project. It's a key phase. We want to know if we can bring private participants, attract. But if the project is not economically justified for the country, or the region, state, province, or socially and environmentally sound, don't waste your time. So then that's a no-no. Okay, so we have to make those assumptions. We already did an economic analysis, environmental, social assessments. Okay, and now we can, yes, so now we want to define, basically the financial analysis is one of the final steps to check the project. So now we can go to it. Please use the graphical financial model of the toolkit. Where did you find it? Remember the 6 modules of the toolkit. Click that link. Oh, you sent to the financial model. Oh, okay. Deepak already sent to all the participants. Okay, so just open Deepak's email. If you lost Deepak's email, then go to the toolkit and to the link. Yeah, module 6. Go to module 6. Oh, he just here, and you can download it. And let's open, please, all the participants, let's open in module 6, now let's open the graphical financial model. And remember to accept all macros. I think Deepak explained in his email how to open the macros. No, enable all contents. All macros have to be enabled. Otherwise, it will not work. Enter all the data that will be provided. So if we enter that data, we are adjusting the model to make it user-friendly. We have data for everything. So when you go to the website and open the model, all the data will be filled in. So all you have to do, replace the values that are applicable to our project. We'll do that. And here are the data. So I would suggest, if you don't mind, first thing, let's please enter the data. So from left, I didn't follow exactly the sequence, but from here, you see where to enter the data. If you go to the graph, maybe is it possible to show the graph? Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we are talking about the file graphical model user face.
The graphical model, operate V3. Yes, operate V3.
So this already has macro enabled and ActiveX controls enabled. So this will be the starting screen, and you have 5 sheets in it called data, cash flow, debt, dividend, and the results. So we start with the cash flow, where you can adjust all the key parameters. So as you have seen, parameter asks for concession term, construction cost, road length, the split up of the construction, operating expenses, and other details. So what we want you to do is to adjust the information below on the concession.
Could you do, for example, for the
for
first one?
example, concession life, it is 50 years now. So I'm trying to reduce it to maybe 30.
30. Yes.
And you can see
could we try, everybody, if you have it open, can you try to start with then concession life? Let's put 30 years. Can you change it to 30?
Yep.
You did? And then no, if you had a bad message saying, guy, you are not a good person, then you have to close the model and reopen everything again. Okay? If, let's see what is here. Learn more. Oh no, it's not working. Yeah, with this message here. Yes. Yes, yeah, at least one. Is yours working?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. Great. Oh, is it good? It's working. Both of you.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Yes. So, how about yours? So, you go to the link. Yeah. Yeah. Deepak, I think she needs help. How about you? Can you change? Can you put 30?
Yeah, it's a 30 minute.
And you didn't get any message.
Yeah, I didn't get any message.
Yeah. Can you enlarge it a little bit? Oh, yeah, perfect. Yeah, you have to. Yeah, provided that you see everything here and everything here. Yeah, perfect. Yeah. Can you change to 30 years?
Yep.
No message, no nothing.
Nope.
Perfect.
Yep.
Can you change to 30 years?
Yes, yeah. I have no issue.
And the others, if you
Yeah.
try. So, yes. Okay. How about our online colleagues? Our online colleagues, I think we have the vast majority of in person is now getting it's getting there. Mhm.
I'm not sure if you can hear me. I have a question about the spreadsheet. I'm not seeing where we adjust the construction period.
Okay, yeah, I'll come to that. Construction period is in the first sheet in data on the top right side. Year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4. So year 1 is fixed. Year 2, 3, 4 is what we need to change.
As you adjust years 2, 3, and 4, automatically it
Yes.
will adjust year
Year
1.
one.
That's the reason, because the sum is 100%, so you don't have to change all of them. So 1, don't worry about 1, just the years 2, 3, 4. Any other question from our online colleagues?
Hello.
Yes, can hear you.
Yeah, I'm Ronald from Tanzania. I was looking at year 1. I see it's 10%, but why you said we don't change it, but I see that is 15% from the slide. Or
Yes, so once you change year 2, 3, and 4, automatically year 1 will be readjusted.
okay.
And how do you change the field? It doesn't have the arrows like the other sheet.
So on the left side, if you click on the left side of the box, it will be going below. And if you click on the right side of the box, it will go up. The arrows are kind of invisible.
Okay.
Could you demonstrate that?
Yes, just in a moment.
Oh, yes. Yeah, can you adjust the 30? Yeah.
So if you go to the first sheet, within the larger box, on the left side, if you click, it reduces. And if you click on the right side, it increases for each of these boxes.
Okay, thank you.
So the values.
And sorry, where do you adjust the concession period? Is it on the
Okay.
first slide? I mean the
Yes,
first.
concession period and most of the parameters are in the second sheet in the cash flow statement below. Concession life, construction cost, operations cost, daily traffic, and remaining.
I've seen it. Thank you.
Yeah, may I ask road length? I've not located that yet. It's probably very obvious, but I'm missing it.
Sorry, I didn't get you. Which document?
Road length, the parameter road length parameter. Where is that set?
The road length.
Oh, the road length is not in the model. We wanted to keep the model as simple as possible, so to be user-friendly. So as a result, some of the calculations you have to do outside of the model. So we will get to that point, but for the time being, please focus on including in the model all the data that was provided, so that you are adjusting or adapting the standard model to your project. That's how you make it fit to your project.
So in this case, the capital cost takes care of the road length. So we don't need to adjust the road length. The capital cost is indicative of the road length.
Yes, it applies to the entire road length.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, if
Hello,
you
I have a
yeah,
question.
if some of the colleagues are working at home or in the office with other colleagues, it helps if you can ask somebody to tell you the parameters. So one person should be entering and the other person could be dictating the numbers, would facilitate. So here also in the room, if you want to work together, pair with a colleague, please feel free to do. Okay?
Sorry, is the nominal interest rate is the one where we see the interest rate?
Yes, it is an interest rate.
Okay. No.
We are talking about nominal interest rate.
And could you tell us where the field is for the loan repayment period?
So the loan repayment period is, you need not include it directly, but your total debt maturity can be 19 years. So the debt maturity 19 years is a sum of the grace period and the repayment period. So there is no
Yes.
specific field for the loan repayment period as such. Only
Thank
need
you.
to key in grace period and the maturity.
Thank you.
Could you go over again how do the
Okay.
construction costs percentages work? I'm having trouble figuring out the first years.
Yes. So for the construction period and the cost, if you go to the duration of works in the data sheet, and there are large boxes, and if you click on the left of the large box, it reduces, and if you click on the right of the large boxes, it increases. And you can keep year one unchanged. There is no option to change for year one, but year 2, 3, you can change.
Perfect. Thank you.
Hello. Hi, can you please check for repayment period? It seems the subtraction is not working. For debt maturity minus grace period, it's not giving me 15.
Grace period is 4 years and the debt maturity
Yes.
is 19 years.
Yes,
And
but
that
in data is no, the repayment is 19.
yes, the repayment period is total 19 years.
It's not, it's 15.
Yeah, the repayment period is 15, so you added the grace period. You have 19,
Including that.
yes, including the grace period. Yeah, again, if you go the first,
The subtraction formula needs to be corrected.
Yeah, so you were talking about the repayment period in the sheet 1, right? And it still shows 19 years because I think here it covers the entire period of repayment. Need not change. So these are non-editable fields. So it can stay like that.
Hello. Hello,
Yes,
this is Andrew from Uganda. I want
can
to
hear
know,
you.
how do you input state discount rate? State
Okay.
discount rate.
State discount rate is in the first sheet, data sheet. It has to increase to 8%. Yeah, in real terms, it's 8%. So we increase it to 8. In real terms, it is 8. So in nominal terms, it will be real terms plus the inflation rate times plus a factor of a combination of the real terms and the inflation rate. So you will get 12.32.
yes, for
Hello,
practical.
hello, please. Hello.
Yes.
Please, where can I reduce the operation cost? I've gone so high. I want to bring it down to 1,000.
Yeah, you can increase it to 10 million.
Okay. Okay. Operation cost 10 million. Okay.
Where is the loan repayment period adjusted? Can you remind me of that?
Loan repayment period is adjusted in the grace period and debt maturity. Loan repayment period itself does not have a table. You can just adjust the debt maturity as 19 and grace period as 4 years.
Thank you.
Yeah, if you put the
Sorry, I'm a bit confused with the operation costs because I put here 10, I changed it to 10, but I see the figure of 10,000. Do I need to remove these 3 zeros? So it remains only a figure of 10? On the second slide, I mean the second sheet, operation costs. Hello?
all figures are in thousands, so it's 10 million.
Ah, okay, okay. Okay, KUSD. Thank you.
Please, where do I reduce the grace period from 5 years to 4 years?
There's a section called grace period where we can change to 4 and 5.
You know, the private sector will not get any loan with the grace period lower than the construction period. So they will be on that. Don't you think a lot of the principal without calculating money? So,
Okay. Mhm. 4%, 30%, 19.6. Okay.
Which
Could-
shows
could you-
entity of, yes.
Could you explain the difference between the project IRR and the equity IRR?
Yes, we'll come to that shortly.
yeah,
What-
let's first customize the model to our project, the given project. Okay, so let's enter all the data. Please don't do any calculation so far. Let's do, so if we enter all the data correctly, then we can compute all together. And we're gonna, I tell you, we're gonna get to the right answer. Okay.
So let's look at the second sheet, change the equity to 30%. And investment subsidies is 0, which means we will have a debt of 70%. That's right. And traffic composition 70, 25, and 5. Okay, before that, initial traffic for the year 1 is 20,000.
So far, let's only put the 20,000 because the other data we don't need for the time being. So we are entering data only where the model requests the data.
20, and traffic composition 70.
Traffic growth 3%. We have entered.
Traffic growth
3%
3,
traffic growth.
and traffic split. Traffic split, no need to change.
No.
Okay, traffic split, you can skip, no
Not
need
yet,
to
not yet,
change.
yeah. So we don't need that for the time being.
Inflation still remains 4%. Inflation is 4%. VAT is 10% and corporate tax is 11.
bet 10%.
And corporate tax rate as 11. Okay, and amortization period.
Amortization period, you have to go back to data.
Sheet, and it is 26 years
Yes.
by default. No need to change. Okay. Has everyone reached the stage of setting up the model for our project before going into the targets?
Yes, before worrying about the target, let's make sure that we have all the data. So, the cash flows, you can check here the bottom line. You should have all this data. Oh, the toll rate does not matter. We have 3.7, but it does not matter because the toll rate is going to get affected. So don't worry about the toll rate. But all the other data in the cash flow, at this stage, we need to get all on the same page. Oh, variable part should be 0. Yes, thank you. Good eyes. Good eyes. Colleagues, please remote the person. Look here. Variable part of the 0 maintenance cost should be 0. So instead of 0.1, I should have 0. I think this model works only with the big part. Oh, I got it. I'm very your model. Good. So yeah, it should be 0. Okay. Should be 0 here. What else? You have 12.32%. So in practical terms, the state's rate in nominal terms should be 8 plus inflation.
Okay.
8 plus 4, 12%. The 0.32 is refinement. This is obtained by the product. The entire formula.
All right. I don't get it.
The correction is the product of inflation times real terms. Real terms. The rate in real terms. The rate.
And I have a question.
Yeah. And where do we enter the traffic composition?
Traffic composition, no need to enter in this. The total price.
I think there's something wrong with the microphone. It's we can't hear you.
Yeah, okay, sorry, the traffic composition, no need to change now. You need to look only at the total volume of 20,000 in the initial daily traffic.
Yeah, let's do a final talk, check on the cash.
Okay, so if I look at these sheets, I'm finally checking construction life is 30 years, construction cost 210 million, 4-year construction split up 15, 30, 30, 25, operating expenses 10 million, nominal interest rate 9%, interest rate 9% per year, loan grace period 4 years, debt maturity 19 years, repayment of loan is under P plus I constant, which means principal and interest is total remaining constant in a year. State discount rate kept as 8%. The next sheet will have a capital structure of debt equity as 30-70, sorry, 70-30. And initial daily traffic will be 20,000 per year. Traffic growth of 3% per year, inflation of 4% per year, corporate tax at 11, VAT at 10, and amortization period 26 years in the first sheet. So basic model, the project has now been set for our conditions. So now the first question was, at what toll rate?
Yeah, financial indicator targets.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we are looking into the financial indicator targets. Maybe you
Yes,
can
yes.
explain that.
Thank you.
We can't hear we can't hear you online.
Can you hear now?
That's much better. Thank you.
Is okay? Yes, yes. So I was saying that now we have the two targets. So return on equity at least 12%, at least 1.2 for the ratio, for the ADSCR, annual debt service coverage ratio, at least 1.2. So with those two indicators in mind, let's memorize them. So we can go to the cash flow. Let's go to the cash flow. Let's go to, how do I shrink this thing, Deepak? Because now we need to, now we have to see the entire cash flow. The entire page you have to see so we can, perfect. Okay, great, great. So let's see if I can do it now. So if we have all the data, let's see the indicators. We are not talking about the other indicators. Project internal rate of return, forget it for the time being. It's helpful, but we don't worry much about it. Our two critical indicators are only these two here. The equity IRR, which is 9.69. Now it's too low. How about the ADSCR? We need 1.2, and it's now 0.74. So what do we have to do to get the right indicators? The only variable now we have an equation with only one unknown, which is the unknown. The unknown is exactly the toll rate. That's the unknown. What's the minimum toll rate required? So 3.7 is too low because the two indicators are too low. So let's increase, and you can increase with me. Let's increase the toll rate so that we can increase the two indicators. The equity IRR is now 15.29, but I keep increasing because the ADSCR is not good enough. So I have to increase more. Oh, now I'm in good shape. You see, we have to check the minimum. Now both indicators are above the threshold required. Equity IRR and ADSCR. But let's see if I can go one notch down, because the question is, what's the minimum? But if I go one notch down, ADSCR is 119, so not enough. Let's go up. So I have here a toll rate of 5.1. How many got that toll rate? 5.1, 5.1. So, okay, we unanimous. Congratulations to in person. How many of the 200 online? How many? We have several online colleagues. Did you get 5.1 toll rate? Yes? Okay, Excellent. Congratulations to all of us. We got it. 5.1. So how are you doing time-wise? Can we continue on this or should we Deepak? We can carry on, right? So congratulations to everybody in-house and the remote. We got the right toll rate, $5.1 per vehicle. So we are not yet talking about cars, trucks, buses. We all know that trucks and buses should pay more than a car. But here is the weighted average. So the weighted average, so that the toll rate of $5.1 per vehicle is the weighted average toll rate that we call WATR. So let's go to the next question. What time? Let me finish. We have 1 hour. It's 15. 50. Oh, okay. Deepak is checking the time. I think we are doing good. We got right to the first answer, and we are in good time. So let's go to question 2. So question 2, please estimate the minimum car. Now we go to those percentages of cars, percentage of bus, percentage of truck. The car toll rate in dollar per car. And also I want to go further. I also want the dollar per car kilometer. So if I find the dollar per car and divide by 40 kilometers, I think we had 40 kilometers, I can compute the dollar per car kilometer, okay? For the project to be able to attract private investors. So please assume the following relationships between toll rates. So average truck toll rate, assume that will be three times the car toll rate. And the average bus toll rate is going to be twice the car toll rate. So keep in mind this equation, 3 times for truck and 2 times for buses. Next. Okay, how to solve it? I'll give you online and local. Let's give you 3 minutes to read this, please, and try to get for your project how much will be the toll rate for car. You have to there.
This is the answer.
Oh. Has anybody got the tow rate per car?
7.9.
Yes. Whoever gets the tow rate per car can tell me the result.
Okay. One question, Cesar. What is 155? Is the I don't see.
Yes, the bottom line is here. Look, the bottom line is then the tow rate for car is equal to the weighted average tow rate divided by 1.55,
Yes.
right? This is the bottom line.
Yeah, but what is 1.55? Is a constant.
The 1.55 you got from this calculation. So it's based on the percentages of truck, bus, and cars in the traffic flow. So it applies only to this project because each road will have different percentages. Okay, so you're gonna get different numbers. But for this specific project, the tow rate for car is obtained by just dividing the weighted average tow rate, which is 5.1, divided by 1.55.
And then by 40.
I got here 3.29. $3.29. Okay? Okay? All agreed? So 3.29. Okay. And now, yeah, the WATR weighted average tow rate is 5.1. Yeah, 5.1 divided by, yeah, we got 3.29. And now, how do you get per car kilometer? To get per car kilometer, you divide, how many kilometers our road? 40 kilometers long. So divide by 40. How much did you get?
0.13.
0.082. Everybody should get 0.082. Why is it important to compute the tow rate per car kilometer? Any idea? Because that is the international standard to compute tow rates. So if you want to compute tow rate in Australia, in France, in India, in Brazil, you compute the tow rate per car kilometer. International standard to compare tow rates. Countries differ in terms of equivalence between cars and trucks, between cars and buses. I assumed here that it's a simple number. No, we assumed 3 times for trucks and 2 times for cars. But it depends on the country. Like in Brazil, for example, in most of South America, the relationship is the number of axles. So what's the tow rate for? I have a truck here. Look, I have a truck here with, let me count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7. No, I have 4 axles plus, so I have 7, right? No, I think I have 2 here. I have 2 here. So 3 and 4, 7 axles. So the tow rate for this truck will be 7 times the tow rate for cars. So here, the tow rate for commercial vehicles is their axle is the same as the tow rate for a car. So a simple equation. The tow rate for a truck is number of axles times the toll rate for a car. And other countries have, like here in the US, you have different, in different concessions, you have different equivalencies in the US. In South America, it's mostly standardized. Okay? In Europe, you have variations country by country. Yes, so I think we got it right. Maybe we could skip. Do you think we could skip? Yeah. I think we'll propose to skip to example. We have two more numerical examples. So we'll provide, at the end, we'll provide you answers to everything. Okay? But at this stage, we got so far with the right answers. So I think it will be productive to cover exercise number 2 and number 3, because we have not spoke about, or maybe we can quickly do this one here. Let me see. There's 3 subsidies, notes regarding, lots of notes. How about question 4? Let me do only one more question, because I would like to make some comparison. Okay, let's do question 4. Question 4. And then we skip to the other 2 exercises. So we cover most of it.
Okay,
So
there is
question.
no political support. Mhm.
Okay, so question 4. In case there is no political support to charge tolls to road users, alternative approaches could include shadow tolls or availability payments. For example, Poland has used shadow tolls for that purpose. Latvia was advising the government on establishing their first toll road concession. And then the minister came and said, oh, we had a council of ministers and the elections are coming in 8 months. There is no political environment to charge tolls, so let's go for availability payment. And we changed the concept of the project. It happens, okay? So it just happened now in our exercise. Now, friends, colleagues, no more toll. So how do we do this project with availability payment? Even without using the availability payment model yet. We are going to use later, okay? So let's use data that we have here. Look, now I want to assume that there is no capital grants, no subsidy. Please estimate the minimum annual required payment by the government, which is availability payment or annuity. Like in India, Bangladesh, it's called annuity. The rest of the world, availability payment. During the first year of operation. So please use the weighted average toll rate from question 1, which was $5.1 per vehicle. WATR was 5.1 in question 1. Okay, so the availability payment. What's AADT? You know what AADT is? Annual average daily
And
traffic.
daily traffic.
So how many vehicles per day we have? 20,000. So AADT is 20,000. So I know the number of vehicles per day. It's a data was given here, 20,000 vehicles per day. Okay, and the weighted average toll rate is the $5.1 per vehicle. So if I multiply weighted average toll rate times AADT, I'm multiplying $5.1 per vehicle by 20,000 vehicles per day. So if I multiply this 2 here, I have the amount of money per day. If I multiply by 365, I have per year. So this is the equation. So the availability payment is 365 times 20,000 times 5.1. Do you want to compute the back? Can I show can we get the answer, please? So please multiply 365 times AADT times WATR, and we get the answer.
Yeah, I think it's 365. 20,000, right?
20,000,
And
5.1.
It's
37,230,000. Let's put 37.2. Let's put 37.2 million. $37.2 million. So everybody got that number? You did? You did? You did? Oh, these guys here got everything right. I hope our colleagues online are getting things right also. Okay? So answer. We'll need to pay in the initial year, the opening year of the project. In other words, the year one of the operation maintenance period, we need to pay 37.2 million. And then we have to adjust that for inflation for the remaining years of the project. That's what we did in Latvia, when there was no environment, political environment to collect tolls.
And this is a concept of shadow tolls or virtual tolls. If an actual toll does not exist, government can count how many vehicles pass through it, and equivalent amount of money can be passed on to the investor.
The bidders, potential bidders, in that particular case, were consulted. We did a market survey. They said no to shadow toll. Why? In shadow toll, the payment to the private sector, to the private investor, is made by the government. Availability payment, the payment is made by the government. So it's the same. It's not. Because in shadow toll, as Deepak mentioned, the calculation of the amount of money is not fixed. Depends on the number of vehicles per day. And you use a fictitious toll rate, which is agreed during the bidding process. But which means that the private sector will have money each year that may be different because it depends on the traffic. And it was the first major highway in Latvia between Sigulda and the capital, Riga. And so there was no environment, no acceptance by the private sector of shadow toll. So the only option became the availability payment, which is made by the government irrespective of how many vehicles per day. Okay? Colleagues, I think we can move. I'm very happy. Let's move to, please help. Let's move to, yeah, let's move to availability payments.
Okay. So for that, I request you to open the next sheet, the sheet titled Financial Model for Availability Payments, number 5. Okay. The process.
The larger bit. Yeah.
The process is almost similar like what we did last time. You will be having a set of parameters. So let's go through the question. You want to explain the concept?
Yes, I think we do. Let's do a refresh here. Availability payment is a form of PPP where the public sector pays its private partner, the concessionaire, through regular payments, usually annually, could be half year, during the operation maintenance phase of the contract. Based on the PPIF World Bank Toolkit for PPP roads and highways toll road graphical financial model, which you already know, based on that model, we developed a model to assess financial feasibility of availability payments, which is applicable because then it's not toll rate. So it's applicable to roads, rail, airports, ports, schools, hospitals, buildings, prisons. A numerical example. Let's go to the numerical example. Question 1. Okay. To answer any question, the first thing we have to do will be to enter the data for this project. But let's see the question. Assuming that previous studies have shown the proposed project is to build a highway is economically justified, socially and environmentally sound, please estimate the minimum annual availability payment that a potential concessionaire will require. And here's the data. So let's enter the data and then we'll compute. So the model that Deepak showed, the new Excel. Now forget the previous Excel. Just keep the answers because one of the answers we're going to compare. Okay? Let's enter the data. Can I dictate to you? Okay, I'm gonna, do I have some now?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Let me dictate to Deepak and he's gonna enter in the new model. So concession life, 30 years. Construction, capital cost, 210. I saw that number before. Okay, 4-year construction period. Split in, forget the first year, go to year 2, 30%. Year 3, 30%, and year 4, 25%. The computer is very smart. It knows that the sum should be 100. So it computes year 1. We got it? Yeah, can we go to operating? Operating, this operating expense is O&M. Operating, maintenance, even rehabilitation, annual equivalent. So operating and maintenance expense, 10 million. There are no variable operating expense. I think we already, can you see the, yeah. We don't, I will eliminate, okay, good. And nominal interest rate, 9%. Nominal interest rate, 9%. Good. What else we have? Loan grace period, 4 years.
It's 4 years.
Loan repayment period, 15 years. Then a debt maturity of 19 years. Debt maturity, 19 years. It's already there. And form of repayment of the loan, principal plus interest, P plus I. What's the other option? The other, can you go to, can you try linear? Let's say linear. So let's go to debt. You see, if linear, it decreases like that. And if you put plus R, so it means that the principal plus interest is constant. Okay?
Fixed EMI every month. Fixed payment every month.
Every year. Usually it's a year. So if you buy something by credit, you probably have to pay monthly. But when we are talking about infrastructure, the scale is bigger. And usually we are talking about annually. When we did some calculations for Federal Highway Administration, they didn't like this model. We had to split in half a year because Federal Highway Administration wanted to structure all their financial models in half a year. Okay, but as far as I'm concerned, I think the rest of the world is happy with 1 year units. Okay, now, except in India that you make the payments every 6 months. Yeah, but okay, it could.
Discount
rate. State discount rate, 8%. So 8% state discount rate, Rio, 8%. And inflation is, how much inflation? We didn't do inflation yet. Inflation 4%. So we have to correct inflation 4%. Now we have the, so the corporate, so, yeah.
Capital structure. So investments, subsidies are 0.
Subsidy is 0 and equity 30%. Yeah, the computer does not want you to add the debt because it knows that the sum is 100%. No debt plus subsidies plus equity is 100%. So you stop there. So I think we entered everything.
Revenue growth rate is 0. Corporate tax and VAT.
Do we miss anything?
Yes, the tax rate.
Oh, yes. Corporate is 11 and VAT is 10%. Yes, so I think we entered everything. Everybody on the same page? I think we entered all the data. So maybe let's enlarge now, please, the cash flow. And now, look, let's see the indicators, the constraints. We want the constraints to be, same as before. We know those numbers. 1.2 and 12. In your view, let's see, in your view, are we, this exercise is for a developing country or a developing with lower, developing. Yeah, it's high indication. High, both are relatively high. Yeah, so it's a developing country. Yes. Okay, so let's do the calculation. Can I do it because you're doing all the work? So if I stay close to the pack, he does not let me work. Okay, and, okay, Deepak, follow me. Okay, let's see here. So the indicators are not very good. Equity is only 5.6 and ADSR is red. We don't like that. So in this case, we don't have toll rate to increase. We have to increase the initial revenue. So initial revenue is the availability payment in the year 1 of the O&M period. So we have to increase. You have to increase. You can use the right arrow or the left arrow. If you use the right, you jump quickly. Okay, it was so low that we can use the right. And we want, you see, now I satisfy the ADSR with 1.21. But what happened to equity? We need more. So let's go slowly now. So I use the left arrow. With the left, it goes slow. The jump intervals are, so we fine tune. So let's go here and we have to go to 12%. Oh, 12.00. Coincidence. 12.00. So we stop here. And ADSR has to be more than 1.2. It's 1.29. So I'm in good shape. How much is the initial availability payment that the government has to pay? 38.7 million. You got 38.7? You got, hope our colleagues online, you're getting 38.7 million dollars per year. Okay, so can we go to next question, please? Let's do at least one more, and then we can go to, so we cover most of what we wanted to do. How do I go to the, oh, yes, yeah, okay. Here now I have, okay, this is a solution. how can I give the microphone to, can you give the microphone to one of the colleagues? Do you mind reading for us? Could you read for us, please? Mhm. Yeah, yeah. This is what we did, but just to make sure that everybody understands. Okay.
The model can be used to estimate the minimum annual availability payment that a potential concessionaire will require from the government to undertake the project. As a first step, the user should enter the data provided using both the data and the cash flow graph worksheets. Assuming there are no revenues to the concessionary other than the availability payment, the initial revenue in the cash flow graph will be the annual availability payment required by the concessionary. You can now go to the cash flow graph and obtain the minimum annual availability payment in million by trial and error by varying the initial revenue so that the financial indicators calculated by the model are equal to or just above the minimum required threshold given above for the two indicators considered critical for the project, the ROE and the ASCR. By doing this, you should find an initial revenue of $30.8 million in the minimum amount that will satisfy the two indicators.
Okay, I'm doing, I don't know if Professor Labi agrees, but sometimes I do learning by reverse. So we first do, and then we learn. So that's the reason I asked you to read it, because we did exactly that. Okay, we are reversing order here. So we are learning twice. Okay, so we don't forget. Okay. Yes, I think you can read that later. Question 2. How does the availability payment computed with the availability payment financial model compare with the result computed under question 4 of the financial assessment of a user's pay P3 project? Could you please go back to your notes and see how much was the availability payment that you computed before? Yes, 37.2, you have the answer there. Yes, yeah, you have the answer in question 4. So why are they different? There's a good reason, because they're not equal. But why are they not equal? Okay, yes, rounding. Explanation rounding, we're always rounding. Approximate, we could do the model much more, with many more significant figures. But it's just like you can go, oh, by the way, these models are completely open, no secret, no password. You can open, and you can make your change. However, only do that after you learn. Don't try to change anything before you don't learn well. But once you learn well, and these results I put here, you can always confirm. If you make change, but you're still getting the same result for the same conditions, so you are probably in the good direction. We used that to audit the two financial models of the Toolkit, Module 6, of the Toolkit for PPP in roads and highways. We audited, paid for auditors. They called OPERIS, O-P-E-R-I-S, based in London, UK. They audited, they were paid to audit. And there were 3 interactions. So if you open the website to open the Excel model, you're going to see there is a graphical model and OPERIS 3. That 3 means that it required 3 interactions to get the model audited. So the first version we sent to them, they had some comments, were considered, sent back 3 times. The 3rd time, they said, okay with us. And you know what auditors do? They send you a statement. In our opinion, you're right. But that's typical of auditors. And they said we are right. In their opinion, as they were paid for it, we believe. But we keep checking, double checking all the time. And of course, the models that we did, like we have model for airport, DPAC is perfecting it, finalizing, and we improve as a component of the PhD, right? To yeah, but we already have preliminary models for airports. For I don't know if it's forbidden to say here, it's not transportation, but we have for water and sanitation, water treatment and the distribution for sanitation. And we have the availability payment model that applies to any sector. Okay, so, but all of them have been audited in this way. We didn't pay, we only paid operators once. But once the two models have been audited, if we develop anything else, then we check with the existing operators models. And it's a form. So make sure. So if you increase the decimal points in the calculations, which you can do if you want, go to the model and change the range. And you can also change the steps. Like here, we put the two arrows. The right arrow, we go fast, kick quickly, and the left arrow, you refine more. You can change those intervals, and then it will increase accuracy. Yes.
So in the case of 37.2 million, that was based on AADT and the traffic linked availability payment. It was kind of a shadow toll based availability payment. But in this case, it is a pure financial feasibility criteria based.
Yeah, I believe the one that we compute in the new model is much more precise than the first one, because we have the toll rate with only two significant figures, only two, 5.1, only two significant figures. And to calculate something of million, you don't have much accuracy. Yeah, so I believe that is quite, but the way to double check is to increase the sensitivity of the model, which you have done in certain circumstances. Oh.
Still 5:30.
Yeah, we have, I think we can touch this next. So good point. Yes, yeah. Thank you.
People online also, any queries till now?
Might be something I overlooked, but flood area. So what is that supposed to, and what is that supposed to mean? Is that like project viability or?
Where is it?
Right here.
Could you repeat the question so we could hear it? Thank you.
Oh, yes, yeah. Let me, yes. Could you repeat?
All right. So in the plot area, there's a little PV variable. I would just like clarification on what that what that means and what that implies for what that implies for project financing.
Thank you. Very, very good question. If I know how to get to the model. Yes. Yes. Look here. The question is about PV, FAT plus tax minus AP minus subsidies. What does it mean? It means something very important for most people and extremely important for the Ministry of Finance. Because that's what's coming out of Treasury. That's the present value for the government, for the Treasury. So with this project, look, the government will be paying 38.7 million each year and adjusted for inflation each year during the O&M period of the project. It's a lot of money. Okay, and this will accumulate in the model computes. Yeah, I said that the two critical indicators are the second and the third, which is true. Critical. But everything is important. This is very important for the Treasury for the Ministry of Finance, because it gives a diagnostic over the life of this project. But if you go, you see the same number there for the toll road, for the previous project, the previous model. Not open it because you believe me, okay? But if you want to open. Yeah, yeah, believe but doubt. So if you open for the toll rate, what's going to be there? Is it going to be red or is it going to be white? This is going to be white because the government makes money. Because the government charges tax to the private sector, to the concessionaire. And the concessionaire gets the money from the users. So the toll road project is a way for the government to get more money from the taxpayers, from the users. Okay, for the treasury, it's positive. And the present value here would be positive. But usually for availability payment, should be negative. And the equation is very simple. It's the present value of everything year by year, VAT, VAT. In the US, that's one thing, right, Sam, we hope Deepak will clarify in his improved model, updated, the new generation of the financial model, is to get that more applicable to the US. Most of the countries outside the US have VAT, value-added tax. The US does not. So one simple way to use the model for the US is to put VAT equal to 0. But we can do better than that. And that's what Deepak will try to do and do for his model. Okay. Yes, you have state tax, local taxes, and so do that. So maybe you're going to make it more complicated. Instead of one VAT here, you're going to have 2 or 3 different taxes. So you just increase it here. We have space here for that. Okay. So that's things on the way. Colleagues, in person and the remote, any other point at this stage? Or can we go to our last numerical example?
Yeah. So
Yeah, let's go to
you can
last.
just introduce the model and we'll send the solutions to you.
Yeah.
You can just introduce the model, but we may not have time to do the model and we will send the solutions later. Yeah.
Good point. Yes. Yeah. Last night, Deepak and I worked until midnight to get really the answers and everything to you. So we are going to send you. Oh, you probably noticed that I already put here the answers of numerical exercise number 2 and numerical exercise number 3 also. But we didn't give you the answers to numerical exercise 1. So we will send the PowerPoint. We did the PowerPoint last night, and so you're going to have it with all the answers. Okay, but then I decided to change the approach. So now that I trust you and you trust me that we can get good results, so you have the answers direct. So exercise number 3.
You can introduce the model. Maybe for 5 minutes you can.
Let's go. Yeah, let's go. Can you help this? Good, good. Thank you. So let's go, please, to numerical exercise example 3. Assessing the financial feasibility of an availability payment railway concession. We will estimate the minimum annual availability payment that will be required for a railway project to attract private investors. So let's assume, why instead of reading, why don't I ask you to read? Can I ask colleagues, do you mind reading for us? Yeah, could you, please?
Let us assume that a government has decided to select a capable concessionaire, design, build, finance, operate, and maintain a railway for a 30-year period to transport iron ore from a mine to a port. The government with the help of consultants, has carried out a feasibility study and prepared a request for proposals. The project was found to be economically feasible and environmentally and socially sound. The RFP describes a project, including responsibilities and rights of the concessionaire and the employer. The feasibility study includes the information summarized in the next couple of slides.
Good, good, good. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Who's next? Volunteer? Can you help?
So the railway concession data is as follows. Concession term is 30 years. Capital cost for construction and equipment is $500 million. Capital investment period is 5 years with progress ratios of year 1, 15%, year 2, 20%, year 3, 20%, year 4, 20%, and year 5, 25%. The amortization period is 25 years. The annual equivalent operating and maintenance cost is $90 million per year at the opening year and then adjusted for inflation in subsequent years. The capital structure for equity is 25%, capital investment subsidies is 0%, loans is 75%, and note the debt equity ratio is 75-25 in this case, and revenue growth is 0%.
Thank you. Thank you. So we got that. Do you mind, or maybe pass to one of the colleagues? Could you please?
The normal interest rate is 6% per year. The loan grace period is 5 years. Loan repayment period is 13 years. Now the maturity equals to repayment period plus grace period equals to 13 plus 5 is 18 years. State discount rate, the real terms is 6%. The inflation is 3% per year. Tax rates, corporate rate is 20%, and the value added tax is 15%.
Thank you. So we are back in our routine. Let's please now enter the data so we can answer the question. We can calculate the availability payment. Okay, so it's the same model that we used for exercise 2. It's the availability payment model. So let's please enter this data. Should we gonna do it here? We don't have time. Yes, but I think by now you know how to do it, right? It's the third time, and in view of the time elapsed, why don't we see here? So the financial targets or constraints are here, 13%, and for return on equity, 1.2 ADSCR. And we have question 1, what's the minimum availability payment? So we can enter the data. We know how to do this, but I repeat it here so you don't forget. And I have the answer here. So the initial, by doing this, you should find an initial revenue of 172 points. So this is the availability payment in the opening year, $172.6 million to satisfy the 2 indicators. And then we have question 2. And I have the answer also. No, the basic equation here is very simple. We already had one before, more or less like this. So we have the distance, we have the amount that transported, 8.63 million tons per year. So we can estimate the minimum tariff in dollar per ton kilometer for the project. So here we are converting, we are changing an availability payment, and we are going to calculate some equivalent of a toll rate. So just to be the amount per required, what would be the rate required for this project to be feasible. Very similar. The equation is this one. So the annual revenue is the volume, so many tons per year, multiplied by the unit tariff, by the distance. Unit tariff per kilometer multiplied by number of kilometers, 500 kilometers, and you have the result, and the answer is here. So the result will be, it's like a toll. would be a rate per ton transported will be $0.04 per ton kilometer. And question 3, if there was a subsidy, we apply the debt equity ratio. We keep it, adjust, and we give the answer. Answer to question 3, adjusting, will be, so there's a reduction if you do a subsidy. Okay, there's a reduction in what the government has to pay. So the government pays up front. Does it happen in practice? It happened with me in Russia, for example. We're helping the Russians to launch a project in St. Petersburg, Northway diameter road through St. Petersburg, north-south, and everything, the toll rate would be too high, or availability payment would be too high. But if the government gave a construction subsidy, then Russia had a lot of cash at that time. This was about 12, 13 years ago. A lot of cash in their sovereign fund, a lot of cash. Norway now has about $1 trillion in their sovereign funds. Okay, lots of money. So they are willing, countries like that are willing to pay subsidy instead of paying long-term, very high amounts. So it depends on the circumstance, okay? And so they reduce, reduce by how much we can compute here. And here are some readings that you may enjoy, probably will help. And some of those stuff I think we spoke here today. Are we getting close to close? Yeah. And thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Any questions? We'll be happy to. Yeah.
Questions? 3 seconds for questions. I have some questions, but I don't know. I will leave the floor to others who have questions. Yes, there are no questions that I'll ask. So please, anybody? Can I ask one about the first example with the user pays?
Oh, can you give the mic?
Hi, I have a question with the first example with the user pays. I see given these conditions, we have to recalculate what is the optimum toll prices, right? But I think the assumption there is the traffic demand is not changing based on the different toll
what
prices.
is not changing?
Traffic demand. Traffic demand.
The traffic.
Yeah, traffic volume will not be changed based on the increasing tolls. Can you address in this program how to because there's a whole revenue is coming from the not just toll but also the number of vehicles that using that paying the tolls. So can you address that factors in the framework here as well?
Yes. I think if I understood the question, we want to know what would happen or if I charge toll and the traffic volume. And in reality, the traffic volume is also a function of the toll rate. You ever heard of elasticity, right? Elasticity. If I increase the price of bread very much, I'll eat less bread.
Are you saying that it's very elastic, very
Elasticity? Yeah, elasticity is it reduce. If you increase the price, you increase the toll rate, you reduce the number of users to some extent. For example, if it depends on the nature of the traffic. If it's a traffic of people who are traveling for pleasure, then it's very sensitive. It's very elastic. But if you are tolling a road that brings people from home to work and back, commuters, no sensitivity, very little. So depending on the road, it's around a major metropolis, like Toronto, maybe the big cities, it's probably sensitivity is close to zero. So what we do, some developing countries will do that. We usually take guess a number, about 10%. Okay, but introducing toll here will reduce about 10% the traffic volume. But if you want to go further, you have to do a survey of the users, which is called also sounding. The sounding of the potential users, sounding, listening to them, hearing them, or a survey, and there are standard formats. Even on the internet, you can find, we used in Laos for the first toll road that we did preliminary studies. But then the government agreed with the contractors from China and did without competition. Okay, the first toll road, which is, but there's some positive result of it, that the prices were not exorbitant, the toll rate is reasonable, the traffic and the user are paying. It's a good toll collection. So it's something to consider. So you can do some further studies and ask questions to the potential users, households around the road, potential users, and survey. And so if it's an existing road, then it's easy because you can survey the current traffic. But if it's a new road, if it's a greenfield, then you can make 50% mistake. Like the toll road between Dulles International Airport in Washington, DC, Dulles International Airport to Leesburg, Virginia. The error was estimated, the best consultants at the time, 20 years ago, estimated the traffic as 30,000 vehicles per day at opening. 30,000 vehicles per day. It's a completely a greenfield project, terrain. The farmers sold their land to the investors. So they bought from the farmers everything in greenfield. And guess how much was the initial traffic when they opened? $30,000, 30,000 vehicles per day was the ADT estimated at the opening year. How much did they get? About 15, half. Yeah, half. 15. 15,000 vehicles per day. So according to their financial model, they would go bankrupt. What they did, negotiated with the lenders and with the state. So the state of Virginia gave them so many years more. I think it was 30 years and extended to 50 years, the concession period. And negotiated with the lenders, explained to them, and lowered the toll rate. Lowered the toll rate because they anticipated that probably because the road was completely new, it would take some time for the market, for the people, to have the feeling, have to pay to get it. And so they lowered the toll rate for 1 year. People got used to it, traffic increased, and they increased the toll rate again, and the traffic did not go down. So it happened. And it's so successful project that the Macquarie, the Australian investors, they only go for big projects and projects that will give them a lot of money. Very smart people. This Macquarie, and so they bought the concession some years ago. Yeah.
Stop now, because there's another event happening here at 6 o'clock, so we need to wind up.
Can I ask a last one question or a clarification, please?
Just 1 second.
Yeah. Do you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes. In my country, the Ministry of Finance, I find them the tough people to get the approval. They're the ones who approve the projects. So one of the criteria they have, which I didn't see us talking about, the one we said where the Ministry of Finance are concerned, I would call it affordability. Does it see the project affordable? But there's another criteria they seriously use called value for money. where they compare whether if the traditional way versus doing a PPP project, and that can also be used to accept a PPP project or not.
Very, very, very good point. Very timely. Very good. Thank you. Yes, value for money has been used for some countries, although the concept varies country by country. Like a training for 20 Caribbean countries that we had in Trinidad and Tobago some years ago, before the pandemic. The countries were using value for money just to repeat the financial analysis and the economic analysis. A combination is economically how much rate of return, economic rate of return, and financial feasibility. And they consider that was value for money. But the traditional value for money definition is the comparison of costs. What's the total cost of doing the project the traditional way, and what's the total cost of doing the project through a PPP? So that is the most formal definition of value for money, which is used in the UK, and it's basically the definition used by the Federal Higher Administration here in the US. So, you'd compute the total cost of doing the project as a PPP, the total cost of doing the project as a traditional contract, traditional project, and if the project doing as a PPP is lower cost, then that difference in cost is the value for money. I would suggest that that's a good numerical way to do it. Although the estimates have several unknowns, there are several variables, several variables that are not so easy to obtain to make those calculations. Even the UK Treasury, during the PFI, the Private Finance Initiative, in 1992, what they did, they added to all the traditional projects, they had 17% cost. Why 17%? Because they took the average of cost overrun in traditional projects in the UK. And the average cost overrun was 17%. So they applied it to compute the value for money. So almost, I would say virtually, all the projects they analyzed gave positive value for money.
Thank you.
We'll close the session. Just
thank you.
No closing remarks, quickly, just a few minutes, and then there'll be a group picture with everybody, and then we shall say thank you to Cesar formally. So, closing remarks. Thank you, Cesar, for giving us this hosting, for accepting our invitation, and for giving this wonderful workshop. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
So, for the students and the staff who are here, thank you for attending. For the students and staff as well, thank you for attending. And for those online, we thank you so much for attending this workshop and for staying with us for a few extra 15 minutes. So thank you very much. We shall keep you in mind for future similar workshops and webinars. So please stay in touch. Thank you very much. All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, pleasure.